Sports Camp, a 35-game adventure. I enjoy these types of games, as I've reviewed quite a few of them before. The instant sports games may not have been perfect, but for the most part they were competently made from what I remember. This feels like a game that should work, but they made so many bad decisions it was a slog to play. Now there are 3 modes in this: adventure, sports party, and free game. I'm gonna say this is kinda, sorta a snap judgment review, because the adventure mode is broken. I got to a point where it wouldn't let me do the activity they wanted me to do, and I could never get past that point. But even before that, it wasn't very good. This game is about the most dangerous and sadistic sports camp for children I've ever seen. Like, for example, they have you shooting rubber-tipped crossbow bolts at birds for archery, instead of just setting up a static target, like normal places would do. You see that arrow in the loading screen? That would be a lie. There is no game with an arrow. I guess they would find it too dangerous, which is totally off-brand for this place. They have no problem sending kids on a zip line, strapped in with nothing but a kiddie seat from a swing set. Then there's the mountain climbing, where these assholes have set up breakable holds with no safety gear. How about a running course where they have bear traps down? Sure, they take the spikes away from it, but who thought it was a good idea to load up courses with traps? How has this place not been suited to oblivion? Everything in this feels ridiculous, and they overcomplicate the simplest of ideas. For example, paintball. This one should have just been as simple as make a rectangular area with places to hide and shoot paintballs at other players. It is easy to design. But they decided to go completely insane and said, what if instead we make a track system where they're hitting targets? Oh, and just for fun, let's roll a huge boulder at them at the end because safety. Carnival games had the same kind of ideas, but they at least tried to justify it. Like a shooting gallery on a track, but it was like a ride. This is a sports camp that spent millions of dollars on a track system to shoot targets. Yet they can't stop trees from falling down when they're running a potato sack race. No, wait though. It's actually a feature of the race. What on earth is this place? This has you walking through the camp to each attraction. They're locked off until you do them in order. And of course they're not next to each other. And there's no fast travel as far as I could see. They have a big map that you can look at, and a smaller mini-map. I would have loved a guiding arrow, as I was constantly getting turned around. And it was so dull walking from one game to the other. Now the story and adventure mode from what I saw was that there is a dog, and it is hurt. The counselors decide it's your responsibility to help it, and they will only give you things to help it if you complete their games. Maybe. It's never clear. They talk about giving you food or bandages, but they don't actually give you anything from what I saw. They just talk about giving it to you. I think this adventure takes place over 5 days, as you can see at the top. The major problems happen in day 2. It was another day of slowly moving from one game to another, and then they wanted me to water some plants. And this is where the problems happened. I found the watering cans and I picked them up. And I found plenty of plants that needed water, but I have no idea how to water them. I pushed every button. I wiggled my hand so much I got cramps. It just wouldn't work. I even went over to the nearby well. I thought to myself, maybe I have to fill the bucket with water. I mean, why else would they put a well in the middle of a sports camp? That has to be where you fill up the water bucket. But nothing happened when I went over there. I was losing my mind. The only instruction they give me is how to drop the bucket. I tried reloading my game. It still didn't work. If there's some trick to doing this, I have no idea how to do it. So my journey ended here. Apparently later in the game you can take pictures and find treasures when they unlock different parts of the world. But I couldn't get that far. I tried to get into those areas, but they were blocked off, unfortunately. All of the minigames use motion controls, and they sometimes worked. Most of the time they were not smooth at all though. And sometimes it just didn't work at all. And then they just started working with a few seconds to go in the round. This happened to me more than once. It was very odd. I do wish the motion controls were optional, as they mostly felt like a hindrance to my enjoyment of the game more than a fun addition. Now there were 2 other modes, sports party and free game. Since the adventure mode was broken, I had to use free game to check out the other sports this had to offer, and I mostly could do that. It was missing about 7 games, but those were the single player games according to Gamefly, which had more information about this game than Nintendo's website. Why not put the single player games in here as well? The 2-player ones are missing too. I loaded up 2 Joy-Cons to see if I could access them, and they were just not there. Now it is possible they only unlock if you finish the adventure mode, but since I couldn't do that, I can't actually confirm this or not. It was easy to load up a game, and you could choose 3 other players, which was nice. And this was definitely the best mode. Now let us get into the insanity of the sports party mode, because it was filled with bad ideas. You would set the time limit and a player count, which is all very normal. And most games like this would have a number of games based on on the time limit, and they do this as well. But they make you walk to each one, and that is where the time limit really comes in. They double down on the worst part of the adventure mode, which is trekking to each event, and worse yet, they disable being able to see the larger map, and you have to use a dot on the mini map in order to find your way to it. It really sucked. You will get points depending on where you placed in the events, and at the end of the time limit, it shows you who won. Sports Camp, a 35 game adventure, wasn't very good. I liked the idea behind the sports camp, but it wasn't very convenient to explore. It felt more like a chore going from game to game. I saw some things that I really wanted to check out, like a carnival, but like most of this game, it was locked off from being able to play it, and that sucks. If it was free to do what you want, like go vacation, this actually could have been so much better. Now this is normally $34.99, and I would just skip it. I think the idea behind it is interesting, but the execution of it was terrible. The motion control games often went on for too long, and it was a mixed bag on how well they controlled. There's just so many better games out there that do similar things. So I would just skip this one.